It's January. I'm in my Märklin shirt. That could only mean it's the 2024 new items catalog. Come back and let's see what's inside. Hey everybody, Anthony Dodge, the Model Train Outsider, but especially today, the Märklin Outsider. And we are here to look at the new items in the Märklin 2024 catalog. And the cover of the catalog is a huge eye catcher. It is the Ontario Northlander from Canada. Beautiful train. Märklin has released this before, but they're releasing an all-new version. We'll get to that in a minute. So as we scroll through, there's a couple of things I want to talk about in this catalog right off the bat, and therefore I don't have to overly explain it as we go through some of that. Always some eye-catching pictures of their new stock, and we'll talk about. So a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, MHI. MHI is the Märklin Händlers Initiative. That means the Märklin Dealers Initiative. If you are a model train shop and you pay into Märklin system, you are then allowed to sell special models that are only released to those dealers. Now, part of that is that you follow a certain price point procedure and other things involved. I don't want to go into it all in detail. My shop, Model Bond Shop Lipa, doesn't do that, and therefore they're able to sell Märklin stuff at an even lower price point, and but they unfortunately can't sell these. Also, we'll come across some things called insider clubs, and you have to be an annual member of the Märklin Insiders Club to buy those models. So MHI, anybody can buy it, it just has to be from a Märklin shop. And then Insiders Club, only people who pay the $100 a year to the Insiders Club, which also gets you the two magazines, the Märklin Insider Magazine and the Insider Club newsletter. And you also get a free catalog each year, et cetera, et cetera. You get that. And then lastly, as we look at this first offering in the magazine this year, I want to explain the nomenclature in the upper left-hand corner so that you get an idea and I don't have to explain it back and forth. All right, going across, the first thing is this is Märklin's personal symbol for Märklin. It looks like an M, but you'll also notice there's 1, 2, 3 little dots under it. That's Märklin 3 rail. It tells you this is 3 rail. Now, the next symbol is a little symbol that will show either a locomotive or a car, a train car. And how black it is how much metal it is. And where it's black is what is metal. So they give you an indication of how much is metal versus plastic. If it's clear or white, that's plastic. So you will see varying degrees of that. So in the case of this model, you'll notice that symbol there is all black. They're telling you this is all metal. Frame, chassis, everything is metal. MFX, of course, is the Märklin decoder. MFX Plus, as well as their language, their programming language. And then it also tells you it's DCC, meaning this is digital. It will work on any digital layout. And then any special features or functions, including lighting, interior lighting, does it have two-way directional lighting, et cetera, will be symbolized. And plus, if you see a speaker, it means it has sound. You'll notice there is no little speaker symbol here. This does not have sound. This special model. This is a re-release, a retooling of a classic Märklin model, and it's even being released in the Märklin, the old classic blue boxes. But this is a Class E40 locomotive, and they're also releasing tin plate cars to go with it. We'll get into it. And then over on the right hand, and then lastly, you'll see a Roman numeral, 1 through 6, and that's eras. In general, and they'll come up on the screen here, Era 1 is anything from the beginning of trains up just past the end of World War I. Era 2 is between the wars to the end, World War I and World War II. to the end of World War II, the mid-late 40s. Era 3 is post-war into the 60s. Era 4 is late 60s to early 80s. Era 5 is mid 80s to around the year 2000, 2005. And then the modern era is 2000, 2005 to now. Now, obviously, these dates are not exact and precise. Usually certain things happen, such as how things were numerated creates a change. It's not necessarily beginning in a certain year. They say, okay, we're going to overhaul everything. So there's transitional. So I've already spent 5 minutes explaining that. So this is a re-release of an old Merlin Prototype locomotive. It does have a basic decoder in it. So it's got headlight functions and digital control. So this is not one of their hi-hats. It's just a celebratory re-release of a Merlin classic, along with some tin plate cars to go with it, which happily are very cool looking. So if you can pause these screens and read these. I'm just going to go through. This is called the Carvell Express. These are gorgeous cars, and it's interesting because I've been in the Carvell. That's in south central Germany. It's a range of the Alps, the Carvell Alps, and this train is named after it. So it was a holiday or special express train that ran through the area. But this is, as you can see, an MHI. So I would not be able to buy this through Lipa. I'd have to buy it through somebody like Renaud's or some other place to get these. Beautiful cars, beautiful low box set. It's a 4-car box set, 3 passenger wagons, and a baggage car. Also coming out for MHI, this is one that's intriguing me. I don't think I'll buy it. The 120.1. There is actually one class 120.1 still in service in Germany today. It was a classic IC, the inner cities. But if I remember correctly, there's only one left in service. They started pulling them in 2011. Somebody might correct the date on that, but they started pulling them, and they've all been pulled, but I think there is one that is still in active service. They're a gorgeous locomotive. I love them. This is a bit of a new tooling, including working pantographs. And again, over on the right-hand side, right next to me here, you can see all the digital functions it provides if you're using an ECOS, a Z21, or the Central Station 3, or if you have the most updated versions of the mobile station. Gorgeous modeling there. This is a maybe, maybe, maybe. Now, they are releasing it with a special set of cars, which, curiously enough, was also a holiday train. And that is the Koenigsee passenger car set, which was a holiday train that ran between Hamburg and Berchtesgaden. And Koenigsee is a big lake near, actually translated as King's Lake. And so these are all lit interiors, gorgeous set of cars, very cool set. They come as in 3-car sets. It's a 3-car set, a 2-car set, and then one last expansion car. So it's a total of 6 coaches, wagons, and well, you'll see in the pictures here, including a really cool looking car and the pantograph. Very cool looking, very nice interior, very well done here. And more of the car sets coming with it, including the Kinderland car, which was a children's play area on the train. Because this was a holiday excursion. People got on it from Hamburg to go to the south, or from Berchtesgaden to go to the north, holidays. When and not holidays as in Christmas or whatever, but vacation. So the Koenigsee Express. All right, and then a new one is a locomotive, as well as a track lane. You can see it's a track lane group set. The flatbed comes with ballast on it. And then another carrier and crew truck, I would assume. Although, again, I don't read all of this, and I'm not familiar with everything here. And it comes with a newly released locomotive. And again, this is a MHI exclusive. All right, so now we get to the Northlander, and the Northlander is an Insider Club model. You have to be a member of Merlin's Insider Club to purchase this directly. Again, There are guys that, well, clubs can be members and the club buys one, and then guys buy their own, and some people will buy it and will eventually sell it. But this is an insider club model, and you can read all this. But it's beautiful tooling, and it's a Märklin legend because it's one of the North American models they make over and over again. And I think that's what they're doing here. Is they're re-releasing an older version as opposed to completely new modernized tooling. But just bright colors. It's a very cool looking model, and here you can get all the ideas. But it's all new digital decoder, so you can see you've got tons of functions that you can pause and look through. Okay, I'm going to go through this fast. This is my world. This is the stuff that's made for, like, my grandson, Kyan. He has 2 Märklin My World sets. This is the all plastic, bash them around, play with them. But it's a great way to get young kids, 3 to 5, 3 to 8, into model trains. But my grandson's Kyan has 2 sets, an ICE2 and a Regio Bond set. Well, now they're releasing a Glacier Express version, which is a famous Swiss train starter set. You get track, controller, and all of this. They have obviously a car set here, and they just offer special add-ons and additional cars, but it's nice. Now, Startup, they've actually lowered the range. Startup used to be 8, now they're starting at 6. So Startup is true digital trains, smaller for kids' hands, sometimes somewhat fictional trains, just for kids to play with that are ready to move into real digital trains. So this would operate on regular C tracks. The tracks for My World are all plastic. Even though they look like Märklin C track, they're all plastic, where this gets it onto C track. But again, if you like something, it's actually not to get into digital trains, because there's no issue to turn around and buy more complex trains, because it's all the same track and the trains all work in the same system. And so a startup Regio, the cars don't light up. This is a standard set they issue every couple of years, so they're bringing back the Regio Bond. It has tinted windows instead of light up, and usually a Class 245 locomotive. This is an old startup set that they just recycle. Now, this is one that intrigues me. And it's not the train. I do like the 2 cars that come with it, but this is a Christmas startup set. It's the first time I've seen them offer a Christmas startup set. But what intrigues me about it is not the locomotive, because I've got a really beautiful Christmas locomotive. I do like the 2 cars, but it's just repainted cars that they've already released for Christmas, but these are different, and I wouldn't mind them on the set. But it's the first time I've seen this. I've seen it, okay? I'm not saying it's the first time it's been done. First time I've seen it. They're doing the track snow-covered. So you get a loop of track, and you get the startup control. You can see it's a throttle. But again, you can put this on your digital controller and it will work. But it's got a kid's throttle on, but these have a basic digital decoder in them. But the white track, the snow-covered track, is very intriguing to me. I think that would be cool around my Christmas tree. I might look into buying this just for the track. And then they sell, as you can see, that's the Christmas 2024 car, which we will be ordering. We did not get this year's Christmas car. We just thought it was too weird looking. But we like that car, and it lights up, so it's kind of cool. And it has sound, Christmas sounds in it, so that's cool. And then an expansion set of the white track. All right, now we're going to get into the models. And they show 151 here, and some cars to go with it. You can read all that. But the first one they show is a BR52 of the old East German rail system, the Deutsche Reichsbahn. Okay, so this is a Class 52. It might even be war era for all of for Germany before it was divided. But DR, Deutsche Reichsbahn, is what the German railway system was called, and they maintained that name in East Germany, where in West Germany it became the Bundesbahn. But new molding, and all new higher end MFX Plus decoder, some adjustments they're making with making sure it's all set up, but a gorgeous locomotive nonetheless. Very cool looking, which of course this, by the way, is just sort of a stripped down version of the BR50 I just recently bought. But new tooling, highly detailed, and they have a set of, I assume it's military wagons and tarps, set of cars, and so you can have that. Now they go into, this is something they were really excited in their video today. The legend returns, as they say there. Class 86 is one of their most common, one of the earliest trains they put out there. This was a workhorse of its time, but it's all new tooling. That's what they're celebrating. Last year they released a Class 86 just to release it. Now the release was popular, and so now they've completely retooled, everything new about it. You can look up here that it's almost all metal. It's going to have sound because they're putting in a new MFX decoder. So this is all new manufacturing, all set up. So they're very excited about this. This was one of their big lead-offs. They were very excited about this Class 86. And a small assortment of cars will be going with it, which is being released in the Trix version as well. But here are some additional cars that would be from the Märklin world that could run with it as well. So you got a freight car, an open freight car, you got powder silo cars, and then here it is, a Class 42 steamer. Now, I'm not familiar with Class 42s, and this is made to look the way it did in 69-70, right at the transition time between Era 3 and Era 4. So they even say early Era 4. I like this locomotive. That is sharp. It's very similar to my 01 and that, but this is a Class 42, highly digital, very cool. I will not be getting it because it's too similar to a couple of other locomotives I have, and I'm really not after any more steam, with a potential exception. All right, and then this was another one they were high on. A retooling of the Class 151. They were very excited about this in their video today. Class 151, Deutsche Bundesbahn. This is all new retooling, resculpting, remolding, all new decoder. It's going to have high-end features and functions, including working pantographs, digital pantographs that you can, with the button, go up and down. Really, really extensive sound and light functions. The grill work is really top-notch, at least in the videos I was seeing. Just all kinds of cool little additions they put on this. This is a popular model. I could tell by the reaction of the folks in the chat when this was announced. Most were very excited about it. A couple of people were wanting a different livery, but everybody was like, this is cool. All right. Then they're releasing a group of hinged roof cars. They're doing, you can buy these individually, but they're doing this as a 24-pack in Märklin, and then the Trix pack is 12. I don't know why a difference, but Märklin, they're doing a 24-pack. Trix, they're doing a 12-pack. So a big, massively long rake to go with this. And then Rick and Pauline of Well Chuffed, if you're watching, we've been talking about this. Märklin is, I told you, somebody releases a 103 almost every year. One of the big companies will release a 103. It's very rare to go a year without somebody releasing some version of the 103. Märklin has an all-new tooling. Actually, I shouldn't say all new. They redid a lot of the work on this, and you can see it's all metal. A couple of years ago when they did this in a fictional IC livery, white with the red stripe. But here they're bringing it back in its traditional TEE livery, or the TE livery, with all new updated decoder. The pantographs are now also digitally operational. Very sharp, and they're releasing a rake of cars to go with it, which you can see on this page. And that picture is the actual model they're releasing. So here's the rake of the Express Travel cars. They're not officially labeled Rheingold. All right, here is a Class 110. Again, new tooling in many cases, all metal. The 110, I think a couple of people were disappointed they did it in the blue. I think that was the big complaint. But again, all new digital decoder. pantographs, again, digitally controlled, and a rake of the classic ocean blue, and they are calling it ocean blue and ivory instead of ocean blue and beige. But they've changed the couplings. You can read there. Again, you can read these, and I'll just go through it. But I'm curious about these cars because they match the tin plates I got from Horst in Bamberg. And they released a couple of cars that actually will go with the set as well last year, 2023. I bought one of them. I probably should buy the other. Now, what's interesting is here they're showing a Class 218. But in the video, they were showing this running with a Class 215. Now, Märklin, anybody who follows my channel knows I just bought one of these, a 218 in this livery in Germany, but it's an old model. They're bringing it back, redone, newer decoder, some other things fixed up, a diesel 218. This really is just the same 218 that was retooled last year that they released that I bought, done in this livery. But I'm perfectly happy with the old 218 I have. But what was interesting is they were showing, in the video, they were showing a 215 and that they were going to release a 215. But here they show the 218. And then a postal train. I was really intrigued by this. They were saying this was from around 1978. In the video, the guy actually said the early 80s. Here it says 78, but in the video he said from the early 80s. Now again, that's not my era, but I found this set of cars really, really cool. And now, the funny thing is there is a additional car that they're only releasing with tricks. So I don't know why they're doing it as tricks. I guess because they're doing this one model in the set for Märklin, but in tricks it's separate. I don't know. It's you can get additional car, but technically you could add the tricks one to this. All right, this was another one that had a lot of people excited. Again, a couple of people complained of liveries, but a retooling of the classic diesel 220, which was, if I understand, was originally a Soviet tooling. I don't know the history of this locomotive, but the gentleman in the video was talking about how it was of a Soviet design and then brought back into Germany and West Germany. But gorgeous model nonetheless. Not something I'll be picking up, but very sharp looking, and a rake of stake cars for transporting wood, and it comes with the wood. And I like the detailing. I think the logs on here look really well done. So very sharp, nice rake. All right, here's a big one that they're releasing in conjunction with Pico. This was the Metropolitan, and this is a very limited, and it is in true 187 scale. And you can read about this on the cars, but it ran from Hamburg to Köln, but it was quickly replaced by the ICs. It ran in the 90s up until 2004 and then was replaced by ICs. I don't know the history as to why it's replaced. I'm sure Raymond or Ifo might write a little bit below this video. But it comes with the Class 101, which is still around. I will not be buying this. I think it's cool, but it's cool looking, and it's got all kinds of great stuff with it. I don't see a need for it on my layout. It's something that was not part of my world in Germany or part of the historical world I've gotten into. So just a gorgeous train. Now, here comes the first big announcement, and the first one I pre-ordered. Curiously enough, Märklin puts this version first. There are two versions of this, but it's the Seaman Deso. Now, this looks very similar to the Brava set I had, except this one, the end cars are not double-deckers. On the Brava, the end cars are double-deckers. That's the twin-decks Vario. This is the Seaman Deso. And so you can see as it's going to come, two end cars and then two double-deckers in the middle. And Joyce and I actually rode one just like this and saw dozens of them when we stayed in the Stuttgart area. This livery, it's still Deutsche Bahn, but it's the Baden-Württemberg livery. States can take Deutsche Bahn Regios and redo them in local state themes. And because Märklin, the city, Gopingen, where Märklin is headquartered, is in the state of Baden-Württemberg, a lot of their releases will include the yellow and white of Baden-Württemberg. But very sharp. I pre-ordered this one, the Deutsche Bahn Red. So this is the only model I've pre-ordered. I'll say that now. But I'm very excited about it. Now, on top of that, they're releasing some flatbeds, and you can get them with different colors and in different with different stock on them. For example, this one has a couple of DB Schenker semis on it. I'm very intrigued with this one. This might be something I might pick up somewhere down the road just to add some freight and a different type of freight. You can get it in the double well flat car here. You can get it with the Logistics Mars. And again, they offer container sets that you can get, that you can add on to these. So you can get the flatbed, or you can get it with the prototypes you see here. There was a third one that they showed in the video that is not here in the Wacosa orange coloring. All right, a Class 187 with standard sound and functions. I shouldn't say standard, still quite a bit, but not as many as some of the bigger things. Nice livery, not something I'm looking at. But what I do like is the long sliding tarp car here. I like that. The double auto transport rack, and hey, look, a beer refrigerator wagon. So all kinds of stuff. And doubling down, Märklin released 249 in Deutsche Bahn Red, which I bought. I did not buy the rail systems prototype, which is labeled a Class 248, but they're releasing this in 2 more liveries for this year. So same car, same function, same logo, same functions, just different liveries. So the Leonard Weiss livery here, which would be very cool on some rail maintenance and such. And then they're also releasing it in this livery, which I'm not familiar with. Wir bauen Wege in die Zukunft. We're building ways in the future. The bug design is what they call it, but I'm not familiar with that at all. All right, now that's their German releases. So now we go to Switzerland, and you can't have a year of releases without somebody's crocodile. So we have a Swiss crocodile here. And again, extensive sound functions and all metal tooling. And then this is listed as Era 6, but clearly it's a retro car that still runs. It's a rail car. It's a museum car in its current. That's why they call it Era 6, because this is how it looks now from in the museum it's in. But an old rail car, very cool looking. Again, that's a beautiful piece of machinery and livery, just not something I would pick up. And you get a little 814 double bit here from Era 4. Very sharp. And again, pantographs digitally controlled. That is a big new thing. Märklin introduced it with the ICE 4, or at least since I've been around. And now they're throwing it on lots of things. Very cool looking retro unit there. And here they're talking more about some of the detailing involved in it. But again, advertising all new tooling that they have. This is not just one of their old molds redone. They've redone the mold. Oh, and there it is. Here's the Wacosa orange livery of those flatbed cars I was showing earlier. And you get some cool Swiss little barrel or tank cars to add on to it. Speaking of nationalities, we now have some French silo cars. And then we go to Austria. So that was it for France. Austria, you've got an Austrian crocodile here, class 1189. And a rake of hopper cars to go with it. And here is that Italian class 193 Mercatalia Vectron. So we get another Vectron. And I actually kind of like these. Again, a lot of sliding tarp cars. So I think they just put something in the mold and then different paint schemes, because there are sliding tarp cars, long and short, throughout this catalog. Now, the one I like that I found interesting, not so much I like the style. It's very well done. It's not my era, and these very boxy things. But I like those rusty rail. These are going to be weathered. Rusty rail freight load. I thought those cars were kind of interesting, and they are modern era. So again, I could kind of stick those on one of my trains. But again, it would look better as a flick. But your Class 1100 electric locomotive from Era 3, so an older Dutch one. And continuing on with Dutch into the modern era, we have a Class 1800 locomotive that can pull those Era 6 rail, and you can see it down below with a rake. So very cool. Luxembourg gets a little mini locomotive here and a rake of little, they call them dump car sets. So that's kind of cool. Era 3. And then Belgium. I like these. I don't know why. I just like these long sliding, longer sliding tires. And being Belgian is kind of cool. And then a Belgian double auto transport rack from Norway. I'm sorry, I said Belgium. That one's Norway. And then for Denmark, you get a Danish State Railways 193 Vectron, although in Denmark it's 3200. I just always know them as Class 193 because that's what they are in Germany and Austria. And to go with the Noab that the Danish Noab they released last year, a rake of passenger cars this year, and you can see the model that was released last year, the 39630. Now, the big deal steam-wise, besides the two Germans they were celebrating, is this guy. For Sweden, they are releasing this classic Swedish locomotive, and this is gorgeous. It's very similar to a locomotive they released last year, but it's modified to look as it does today in the Swedish Museum. Hence, it's Era 6, even though it probably would have been more Era 2 and 3. But it's how it looks today. And very sharp, gorgeous locomotive. Again, if I were just collecting steamers because they're pretty, this would go in the collection. That's really sharp. I like that one. It also reminds me of the Czech one they released a couple of years ago. And here was another one that had a lot of people excited, was this Soviet-designed diesel for Czechoslovakia, Class 679, which they really all new molding and the Soviet design muffler included. And then a rake of Czech cars to go with it. And then what really is sort of like a little too little, little too late is Märklin is releasing for the first time since I've been in the hobby. Märklin is releasing some Czech EC, IC, Eurocity, Intercity cars. A couple of, they've got the first class and then the second class cars. I've already got my EC rate from Pico, but that now Märklin's releasing it, and I like my Picos, by the way, so I don't think I'll be picking those up. And keeping on with, hey, we've got this out there, let's do another livery. One more repainting, rebranding of the ES44. So they did 2 Union Pacifics, then they did the Kansas City Railway version, and now you're getting it in the Pennsylvania Railroad. And this is listed as how it currently looks as a heritage locomotive. So, very sharp, extensive sound and light functions again. So, I really wanted to get one of those Union Pacifics, and they're sold out. I'm sure I could still get it, but not at the price I would have gotten it at. So, then they've got one of their little fun cars. They always release a couple of fun wagons, so you got your smiley face one here. They announced this actually last year, the Märklin Heritage, Märklin Catalog titles. They still have not released these. These have still not come out, so this is not new. This was announced, I think, in their fall or their summer release last year, but did not come out, so they're sticking it in 2024 new release. And they're just going to release a couple a year of the Märklin actual catalog covers from history. Kind of cool. Maybe some collectors will do this. I won't. And finally, there's Toy Fair Special, the Class E70. Uh, not, I don't think this type is specifically called a crocodile, but still that same idea, the two-headed beast. And that's coming in special packaging as well, the old Märklin. But again, it's a very basic digital, if you want to call it. This can be run digital, but it also can be run analog, and it's coming in one of the old classic mail order boxes from Märklin. Oh, it is considered a crocodile. Okay. All right. And then they talk about the software and the Märklin Track Planner, but it's only in German, so unless you speak German like I do, there's no point. But it is upgraded and updated that it can run on modern computers, because the old versions, you can buy their old CD disc. It would not work on any modern versions. I think Windows 7 was the last version it could run, or maybe Windows. But now this runs, it says up to Windows 10 if you got the right things, but I think it will work Windows 11. The thing is, the disc would never work on American computers. I actually bought the disc years ago, got it for like $10, but it wouldn't work on my computer system because it was the old encoding when the discs were coded, you know, PAL versus NHS. Now this is just standard, it'll work everywhere. I don't know. And then they've got some containers, 40-foot and 20-foot containers. Here is a special model being released in Zscale. So I'll just go through the Zscale, but this is really cool. It's a PR8. That's the same as I got, except that's Zscale, and a beautiful Prussian train. This is Rro 1. It's gorgeous. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I'm already at about 35, 38 minutes here. But just gorgeous. And then a little MHI exclusive. So again, only Märklin shops get this little rail car, rail bus. And then you get a little shunter. This is Z. This is one of your smallest scales, obviously. But look at the detailing you can now get in Zscale. That's impressive. These models are blown up to see it, but you can see the detail. Collector series, so all kinds of special things down here. In bronze. Wow, they're going to be expensive, but that's not it. And then you got this in Zscale. The class 044 heavy freight in Zscale. Look at the detailing for Zscale. That's what's really different from Zscale when it first came out to now with all the new technology. Really impressive looking. Really impressive looking. And then you've got a Class 55 and a beautiful group of cars. Now, they released those cars in HO scale last year. Now they're releasing them in Z-scale. Very cool. And because they do push Z-scale, and there's a lot of Z-scale collectors out there, lots of stock here in Z-scale. And I'll just let you stop and finish it. The Class 015, very sharp, but it's Z-scale. I'd been tempted for that if it were HO scale. And just more and more cars and locomotives here. Just very cool stuff for Z-scale. And then here is the 218 in Z-scale. And a bunch of cars, freight cars and that. The Glacier, the SBB, I almost said Glacier Express, but I don't think this one's officially called that. But gorgeous little Z-scale Swiss train set with the pantograph car. Very cool. Then Austrian Brenner Pass. This is another one I really liked. Austrian German Combine. It's a Class 103 locomotive and a bunch of old Austrian, the Mozart train as it was called, EC cars from Era 5. And a Norwegian diesel locomotive, I believe that's a Noab, with the snowplow. And some building kits to go with the Z-scale stuff. Now, you can see the picture, and if you know your trains, even a little, you know the Big Boy. This is one scale. This is one scale. A Big Boy in one scale. They're doing a Big Boy in one scale. very close to the prototype, they say. Union Pacific 4014. The Big Boy. Imagine that in one scale. Okay? Not O scale. One scale. This thing's huge. And you'll break the bank if you want to buy it. See, they're going to tell you all the cool things about it, the new digital decoder, the all new tooling, how cool it is, blah, blah, blah. They're going to show you all the pictures, all the stuff it comes with in Zscale. I'll let you stop and read it. Yep, it's amazing. And then it comes in a display case. You can, this particular display case, which is only used with the Big Boy. Available exclusively in the European Union countries, in the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. All right, they're not going to tell you right now this particular gold version as well. That's $7,000. $7,000. Probably a little less with discounts, but $7,000. Insane. And then actually the Kofferly here was introduced in the summer new items. Again, they didn't release it in one scale. I really thought this was beautifully done because they do this in winter weathering, and I thought this was beautiful, but I already talked about it, so we'll call that. And then a few cars. I'll just go through these, just freight cars. This is all one scale. And then these new display cases, working display cases, where you can plug it in and the train will work. So rolling road display cases, I guess is the way to put it, for some of your one-scale locomotives that you want to show off. And then the museum cars in all scale. So they release 1 or 2 museum cars or museum kits a year. Again, nothing that strikes me. There's the one scale, which looks the same as the Z scale. And then the special little car for the startup program, the club car. So again, you have to be in the Märklin Startup Club to order that car. And then these are the Insider Annual cars. Again, you have to be a member of the Insider Club. So the Northlander, but also the Z-Scale, and then for HO you get the BP. And that's it. Okay, so that was a look at the 2024 Märklin new items. The only thing I find interesting is that in their video today, they were talking about a Class 215 in ocean blue and beige. But in the magazine, they showed a 218. So that's the thing that I find a little interesting. We'll see what comes out with that. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed a look at the Märklin stuff. Again, there's only one that I pre-ordered, so I'm already ahead. Last year I had 3 or 4 things I pre-ordered. There's definitely things to look at, but this was a quiet year for me in terms of the magazine. Us Era 6 guys always complain that there's never a lot of stuff for Era 6, except for stuff they retool for the startup program. We'll see what Rro Car has when Rro Car gets their catalog out, and see what Rro Car offers. Otherwise, this will be a quiet year right now, which means I might be able to use my train budget and go back and pick up some things that I hemmed and hawed about over the last couple of years if I can find them for a good price. So, until the next time, this is Anthony Dodge saying Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, and happy trains. Take care, everybody.